Stillness is not emptiness, it is God's invitation. This truth, though simple in words, carries a depth that most overlook. In a world where every second is filled with noise, notifications, tasks and expectations, stillness has been misunderstood. It is not a lack of activity, nor is it laziness. It is not boredom, nor is it retreat. Stillness is presence. It is the divine space between one breath and the next, where we can hear what is otherwise drowned out by the chaos of living. It is the sacred place where noise ends and knowing begins. God is not absent. He is not far, hiding in some unreachable realm, watching us struggle from a distance. No, He is close. Closer than your own breath. But we miss Him, not because He is hiding, but because we are too loud inside. The storms we carry, the racing thoughts, the doubts, the endless mental chatter, these are the veils that block us from His whisper. God speaks in whispers because He wants you to lean in, to come closer, to enter the stillness willingly. We think that divinity must arrive with thunder and light, with dramatic signs and supernatural wonders. But the sacred is subtle. It arrives not with noise, but with clarity, not with chaos, but with stillness. If you are waiting for God to shout over the noise in your life, you may wait forever. But if you learn to turn down the volume of the world, of your ego, of your fears, you will hear what was always there, to remember, to realign. To be still does not mean to do nothing, it means to do something far greater. It means to allow space for something higher than yourself to arise. It means becoming receptive. When you are still, you are not passive. You are listening. And in that listening, a dialogue begins. Not with words, but with awareness. You start to hear your own soul again. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the divine thread that has always been woven through your life, even when you felt lost. Stillness is not a destination you reach by accident. It is a discipline, a devotion, a choice. To sit with yourself when the world tells you to run. To listen when your fears tell you to speak. To remain calm when every part of you wants to react. It is in these moments that you train yourself to become the vessel through which clarity can flow. And clarity is not just peace, it is power. The power to discern, the power to choose rightly, the power to align with the highest path. God said, "I will visit the hearts who are still enough to feel me." This is not poetry, this is spiritual law. The distracted mind cannot hold the light of revelation. The anxious heart cannot hear divine timing. The hurried soul cannot receive eternal truth. But the still heart, open, quiet, trusting, becomes the ground upon which heaven touches earth. You do not have to climb a mountain to meet the divine. You simply have to be quiet enough to realize it has always been within you. On this Sunday, the energy is different. Not because the world will shift, but because the window is open. The spiritual realm is always accessible, but some days carry a unique softness, a divine stillness, the kind of day where the veil between seen and unseen becomes thinner, the kind of day where intuition sharpens, where your soul feels closer to your skin. And this Sunday, if you listen carefully, you will hear the knock. It will not be loud. It will not be dramatic. It will be a gentle tug on your awareness, a sudden pause, a breath that feels deeper, a silence that feels full. But will you be present? Will you be still enough to notice? You may sit down in a quiet room and still be filled with noise. You may walk through nature but still carry your burdens in your mind. Stillness is not found in the environment, it is cultivated in your being. It is not the absence of sound, but the absence of resistance. Resistance to what is, resistance to now, resistance to yourself. When you surrender that resistance, when you become fully available to the present, something opens. That opening is the invitation. And within that space, you begin to feel what was always waiting. This is not just spiritual idealism, this is practice. To return to your breath, to feel your feet on the ground, to let go of the past for a moment and simply be here, to feel the aliveness of this moment without adding stories to it, to strip away the layers of thought and simply observe, without judgment, without grasping. In that space, a clarity arrives. And that clarity is the voice of God. He does not yell. He is not in the earthquake or the fire. He is in the still small voice, the whisper that comes after the storm. But if you are still storming inside, you will miss it. This is why you must prepare, not in fear, not in urgency, but in reverence. Just as you clean a sacred temple before prayer, you must clear the inner space before the divine can enter. And this Sunday, if you are willing, if you are sincere, if you are still, something unforgettable will pass through you. And when it does, you won't need anyone to explain it. You won't need proof or validation. You will know. You will feel it in your chest, in your breath, in your being. It may not even come with words. It may come as a single tear. A moment of unshakable peace, a feeling of being held, and knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, and that something higher is guiding it all. This is the reward of stillness, not just peace, but alignment. And when you are aligned, you are no longer chasing life. You are flowing with it. You are no longer trying to control every outcome. You are trusting divine timing. You are no longer anxious for answers. You are resting in knowing. God's invitation does not come wrapped in noise. It comes dressed in silence. And those who have trained their hearts to be still will be the first to receive it. Do not underestimate the power of this practice. The world is full of people searching for purpose, for healing, for direction, but rarely do they stop long enough to receive it. Stillness is the doorway to all that you seek. It is not a retreat from life. It is how life speaks to you. It is how God reminds you that you are never alone, that the strength you seek is within, that the answers are already whispered in your soul, waiting for you to be quiet enough to hear. So when Sunday arrives, do not treat it as any other day. Rise early, not to begin with noise, but to begin with presence. Sit in silence. Let the light touch your skin. Let your breath guide you inward. Listen not just with your ears, but with your entire being. And when the whisper comes, welcome it. Do not doubt it. Do not question whether it's real. Trust that the stillness has done its work and that God has entered the temple. Not doubt it. Do not question whether it's real. Trust that the stillness has done its work and that God has entered the temple. And when the world moves again, when the clock ticks forward and life continues, you will move too, but differently, with clarity, with purpose, with something unshakable inside you, because now you have touched the place where God speaks. And once you know that place, you can return to it any time. That is what makes this Sunday unforgettable, not because something outside changes, but because something inside does. Because something inside does, and that change, that inner shift, is eternal. So be still, not for the world, not for appearances, but because the sacred is near, because God said, I will visit the hearts who are still enough to feel me. And when He does, may you be ready, may you be listening, and may your soul remember this moment forever. There is something deeply sacred about pain, though it does not feel that way when it arrives. When it comes like fire, burning through your chest, through your dreams, through the story you had written about your life. It does not ask permission. It does not explain itself. It just enters, and it changes everything. But there is something you must know. God never allows pain without purpose. Nothing in your journey is wasted. Not the sleepless nights, not the quiet tears no one saw, not the silent prayers you whispered with trembling hands. Every heartbreak has carved space inside your soul, not to destroy, but to prepare. Every disappointment that you carried like a hidden wound has hollowed out a place where truth can now take root. God said, "Your pain has prepared you for this encounter." And though we may not have understood it in the moment, we begin to understand it now. Pain is not the opposite of grace. It is often the doorway to it. Pain strips us of illusion. It humbles the ego. It reveals what truly matters. And in that raw, vulnerable space where we feel like we've lost everything, that is often the first time we become open enough to receive something real. When the walls fall down and when the masks are gone, and when you are left only with yourself, naked before life, something honest begins to emerge. You start to see life not as you wish it to be, but as it is. And in that seeing, something else begins. Healing. But healing is not always sudden. It is not always clean. It often looks like silence. It looks like feeling lost. It looks like confusion, but beneath all of it, something deeper is unfolding.
The soul is being prepared. You see, strength is not given, it is grown, and growth often requires the soil of suffering. The tree that grows in a harsh wind does not grow weak, it grows its roots deeper. So too, the soul that has known sorrow becomes deeper, more compassionate, more real. It becomes capable of holding what others cannot. And when the time comes, when the divine whispers truth into the heart, it is this soul that can truly hear. Pain has refined you. It has removed what was false. It has broken your attachment to the shallow and pushed you toward the eternal. This is not a punishment. This is preparation. You were never meant to stay in the valley, but the valley taught you how to walk with reverence. You were never meant to drown in the dark, but the dark taught you how to seek the light, not just outside you, but within you. So do not despise your wounds. They are sacred. They are the places where the divine has touched you, shaped you, changed you, and though they may still ache at times, they are evidence that you have lived deeply. They are proof that you have survived what was meant to break you, and that something stronger now lives in you. This Sunday will not be like the others, not because the world changes, but because you have changed. And because of everything you've been through, every lesson you didn't ask for, every moment you thought you would make it through, you are now prepared to receive something higher, something more true, something eternal. The pain of your past has softened your heart. It has cracked open the shell you once lived in, and now that shell no longer fits. The world you used to occupy, the roles you used to play, the people you tried to please, the goals that once defined you, they no longer hold the same weight. Why? Because you've tasted something deeper, because your soul is hungry for what does not fade, for what does not betray, for what cannot be taken. God has allowed the fire to shape you, not to burn you, but to refine you. And the refined soul is the one that is now ready to carry light, not just for itself, but for others. Because when you've walked through the storm and survived, you begin to see those around you differently. You see their masks and their pain. You feel their unspoken wounds, and you can look at them not with judgment, but with love, because you've been there, because you remember what it was like to ache in silence. And this is why your pain matters, because it makes you capable of love that is not shallow, but divine. Love that is not transactional, but healing. Love that does not control, but liberates. This Sunday, that love will be awakened again. You will feel something shift. Perhaps you won't have the words for it, but you will feel it in your bones, a deep remembrance, a quiet knowing that nothing you have walked through was in vain, that every moment of despair was actually bringing you closer to this moment, this awakening, this connection, this sacred encounter with yourself, with truth, with God. The one who has suffered deeply also listens deeply, because suffering quiets the mind. It removes the unnecessary. And in that quiet space, something timeless begins to speak. That voice has always been there, but now you're finally ready to hear it. Now, after everything, your heart is soft enough, open enough, real enough. And so when the whisper comes, when the sacred moment touches your spirit this Sunday, you won't question it. You will recognize it, because it will feel like home, not the home of walls and bricks, but the home of belonging. The home your soul has longed for through every trial, the home that every tear was leading you toward. Pain teaches you to see, and now that you see, you cannot unsee. The old ways will no longer satisfy. The old dreams may feel empty now. That is not failure, that is evolution. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt. And what is being built now is far more aligned, far more purposeful, far more alive. And when you look back, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day you will see the divine pattern. You will see how every loss made space for something greater, how every ending was actually the beginning, how every delay was protection, how every unanswered prayer was answered in a deeper way. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in reverence. For you are walking into something holy, not because of what you have done, but because of who you have become. And you have become someone who can carry light, someone who can hold truth, someone who can hear God when he speaks softly. This Sunday is not a random date on the calendar. It is a sacred appointment. And you are ready, not because life has been easy, but because it hasn't. And that difficulty has prepared you for depth. It has emptied you of the illusion so that you may be filled with something real, something divine. So go into this day with open hands, with a willing heart. Do not resist. Do not fear. Trust the preparation, trust the pain, trust the journey, because it has brought you here to this threshold. And now all that's left is to step through. Every soul reaches a moment where it must choose between distraction and devotion. Most people will not even notice when that moment comes. It will pass quietly, like a breeze brushing against the skin, easily ignored. But for the one who is aware, for the one who has been prepared by pain, shaped by stillness, and humbled by the long walk through the valley, it will be unmistakable. This Sunday is not just a day, it is an invitation to choose differently. The world will move as it always does. People will wake up and reach for their phones. They will check notifications, reply to messages, scroll endlessly, consume more than they can digest. They will chase the temporary and wonder why the eternal feels absent. They will keep repeating yesterday and expect tomorrow to feel new. But the one who is awake will pause, will breathe, will listen. When you live with intention, you begin to recognize that your time is not just time, it is energy, it is life, it is the currency of your attention. And what you give your attention to, you give your spirit to. If you spend your attention on fear, you feed fear. If you spend it on noise, you become restless. But if you give your attention to silence, to truth, to alignment, you begin to wake up. You begin to remember who you really are beneath all the layers of role and routine. And this is the choice that matters, not just on Sunday, but in every moment. Where is your attention? Where is your presence? Are you living out of habit, or are you choosing what aligns with your soul? Are you reacting to life, or are you responding from your center? God does not rush. He is not in the whirlwind. He is not in the urgency. He waits, not because he is distant, but because he is patient. He waits for your readiness. He waits for your awareness. He waits for you to finally look not outward, but inward. And when you do, when you finally turn your gaze within, past all the clutter and commentary, you will find him where he has always been, in the quiet core of your being. Distraction is not just a bad habit, it is spiritual theft. It steals your awareness. It robs you of clarity. It blinds you to divine timing. You may think it's just one more video or it's just one more scroll, but every time you turn away from presence, you turn away from power. The power to be here, to truly hear, to truly feel, to truly respond to what life is offering you in this exact moment. And this is what makes this Sunday unforgettable, not because of what the world does, but because of how you choose to meet it. If you meet it as the same version of yourself who always runs, always avoids, always distracts, then it will be just another Sunday. But if you meet it with sacred intention, if you meet it as the soul who is finally ready to listen, to change, to rise, then this Sunday will mark the beginning of a deeper path. This is not about becoming perfect. It is not about being pure or holy in the eyes of others. It is about becoming honest, becoming sincere, becoming available to what is real. The soul does not grow through more information. It grows through alignment, through the deep, quiet knowing that your inner world is beginning to reflect the truth of your higher calling. When you feel that tug, that pull inside that says there is more, don't ignore it. That is your soul speaking. That is God knocking, not with force, but with invitation. You were not created just to exist, to survive, to chase. You were created to remember, to embody light, to carry peace in a restless world. But this cannot happen if your energy is scattered, if your spirit is divided. You must choose. And sometimes choosing means letting go, not just of what is wrong, but of what is almost right. Letting go of the familiar patterns that no longer serve your highest good. Letting go of the conversations that drain you, the habits that numb you, the fears that limit you. Letting go is not loss. It is realignment. It is the clearing of space so that the sacred may enter. Devotion is not a grand act. It is not always about long meditations or dramatic rituals. Sometimes devotion is simple. It is choosing to be present when it's easier to escape. It is choosing silence when noise feels safer. It is choosing stillness when the world tempts you to keep moving. It is choosing your soul over the screen. God does not need performance. He desires presence. And presence is a discipline. It is a daily decision to come back to what matters, to not postpone your peace, to not delay your joy until circumstances change, to not wait for external signs to confirm your inner truth. You are not here to be pulled by the currents of culture. You are here to anchor into the eternal, and the eternal speaks when you are quiet enough to hear. This Sunday, the energy is different, not in the sky, but in the soul. There is a door opening, but only those who are still, those who are clear, those who are present will walk through it. It will not shout. It will not beg for your attention. It will simply appear as a moment of clarity, a wave of emotion, a deep sense of yes. And when it comes, honor it, trust it. That is how the divine moves, not by force, but by resonance. When you finally say no to distraction, you say yes to destiny. You begin to reclaim your time, your energy, your life. And in that reclaiming, you rediscover the power of a single breath, a single word, a single moment. That is where God lives, not in the future, not in the past, but in the sacred now. Michael, as always, an incredible interview, both on the past and the present, and also on our time. So pause, breathe, remember, return, not to who you were, but to who you truly are, the one beneath the roles, the one who feels deeply, the one who knows quietly, the one who carries the light even when the world is dark. This Sunday will be unforgettable, not because of noise, but because of what you will feel in the silence. Not because of others, but because of what awakens within you. The path will not be loud, but it will be clear. And all it takes to follow it is presence. God is not waiting in some far-off place. He is waiting in the moment you are willing to be real. And when you become real, when you become fully here, everything changes. Because now, finally, you are ready, not just to hear, but to follow. This is your time. This is your invitation. Choose presence over distraction. And let this Sunday be the moment your soul remembers.